Hello everyone, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm going to show you how I do that ghoul makeup that you saw in the thumbnail, and how to cover your acne in the process. So I also want to let you guys know from the start here, everything that I'm using is from the drugstore, and this is stuff I already owned. So if you're looking for like a last minute Halloween thing, chances are you're going to have most of this already. And if you don't, run to like Walmart or Target and you'll be able to get the rest of it. Also, I've tried to keep this video as uncut as possible to show you the timing. I cut it for like 1 or 2 seconds, so let's say overall it takes about 30 minutes to do this entire look, so super fast. I'm starting here with that super sticky primer from e.l.f., and I'm just going to use my hands and tap it all over my face. We are not doing anything crazy fancy here. We are like getting down to business as if you are about to leave your house and have no idea what to do. You want to make sure that you really get this primer everywhere, also on your neck because you want to blend down your foundation, and you want to make sure you like have it stick to your hands the way I just showed you before you do anything else. I would normally put a headband on, but honestly I was a little lazy here, so I'm just fanning down my primer and I'm moving on with my concealer. So for those of you guys who've watched me before, whenever I'm covering acne, I start with concealer just over those few spots. And my skin has come quite a long way in the past year, but I still have a couple spots that I'm like trying to take care of. So take your beauty blender or brush, whatever you like more, and very, very gently just pat down your concealer. You do not want it blended in because we are going to put foundation over top of it. This is just to give yourself what's essentially a band-aid of color over top of the redness. Once you have your little base done like this, you're going to move on to your foundation. This is me situating myself on the floor here so you guys get a better look. So I'm just using the classic Fit Me one. If you want something more full coverage, go ahead and use it, but I like this one honestly because it's easiest to take off. So I'm just popping some on my hand, and then I'm going to go back in with my beauty blender and make sure I get it all over my face. This is a little lighter than my natural skin tone just because it's for Halloween stuff, and a lot of you guys know I go for that alternative look anyways, so I usually take mine a little bit lighter than normal. But of course, the color of your skin does not matter for this. Do it as light or as dark as you would like it. At this point, you do want to make sure that you're blending everything out. Make sure you get all the way up into your hairline, cover your eyes as like a pseudo eyeshadow primer, and make sure you just get every single part of your face blended in. If you have a little splotch here and there, it won't be too bad because the eyeshadow is going to cover it since we are covering most of the face, but you really do want to do your best to just cover everything in its entirety. And I hope you don't mind me moving around. I was really capturing the rush feel of this video with the fact that I forgot to film this week, so I'm in a rush too. If you guys don't like putting foundation on your eye, or if you prefer to use like an actual primer for your eyeshadow, go ahead and swap out those steps, or obviously you can swap up any step that you don't like that I do here. This is essentially following my like typical base routine on a day that I actually wear foundation, which is very rare, but when I do it, I kind of go all out. So continuing, we're going to make sure we get all the way up into my hairline, and eventually I'm going to take it down the neck, but I'm going to wait until my concealer is fully on. So now, even though you can't really see any of the red spots, we want to highlight the face and bring it upwards with the rest of the concealer. So I'm kind of following like the classic spots underneath the eyes, top of the cheekbones, and around the nose. And I'm also going to go in these few extra spots here, where I'm going on my forehead, and I'm going to kind of take it a little bit more like, not down on the cheeks, but to the like very sharpest point of the cheekbone, really high up, because we're going to end up needing that extra like bone structure. Same thing with the tip of the nose. From there, put everything away. You should be done with all of that from this point on, and we're just going to fan it down before we blend it out. Going in with the same beauty blender, make sure you are dabbing upwards as you go, and you do not have to worry about this being perfectly blended. We want it to look like there's these sharp pointy angles for this like ghoulish skeleton kind of look. You want to look a little bit sharp in all these extra points here. Be careful not to get anything in your eye, by the way. I always am like 2 seconds away from accidentally stabbing myself with my nails, so just take some precautions. And then everything you do to one side, keep it as similar as you can on the other, but obviously things are not going to be perfect, especially if you are an undead Halloween creature, so it's not going to matter nearly as much as it would on a daily basis if everything isn't perfectly symmetrical. But from here, as you can see all zoomed out, I'm looking very sharp and very like stark. Now I'm going to blend it down my neck a little bit just to blend the colors a little. Depending on the costume that you're wearing, you might want to take it all the way down through your chest, maybe on your shoulders, totally up to you. Right now I'm wearing a t-shirt and I'm not even going to put a costume on after this, so we're just going with what we got here. Next up is our powder. I used the like peachy colored one from e.l.f., the HD one. It's a little bit sparkly, which I really like, especially for costumey stuff, because it gives it that extra like finish in photos. I think it is called the photo finish one, I don't remember anymore. I'm taking a super fluffy brush, holding my breath so I don't get powder all over my face, and just blobbing it all over the place. You can literally see it like smoking off the brush. You want to be so caked down that no matter what happens to you on Halloween night, your makeup is not coming off. I'm also again going to make sure I take this all over the eyes, and we are going to bake it down a little bit too, so just for now, blend it all over your face, your forehead, your hairline, and your neck, and then we're going to go back in a minute with the Beauty Blender to like solidify the creasier areas. So as I'm going in now, taking the pointy end of the Beauty Blender, and if you're using a brush, just use a flatter brush for this, shoving it in between like the little folds of my nose, and then also underneath of my eyes. Those are like the two main points for me that I know are gonna crease. Typically I'd bake around my mouth, but you guys will see we're gonna be putting a lot of eyeshadow and makeup in that area, so it is not going to matter if we use powder to like solidify it first. Next up is our eyeshadow. I'm using that Blow and Smoke palette from ColourPop. Use any colors that you have. You just need black, white, and gray. Most palettes have them, and a lot of people never end up using them because they're such like harsh colors. So I guarantee most of you are just gonna have these sitting around somewhere. And like I said, I think this is like an $8 palette, or maybe $11 palette if you don't already have it. So you can either take a totally flat brush or a flat angle brush. I'm going to go my angled first and just take the black right onto my eyebrows. Mine are already really skinny. You don't have to make yours skinny, or you can go all out and glue yours down and like draw them back on. But for me, I'm just following their totally natural shape with the black eyeshadow, kind of just like darkening it from not only its normal color, but also because we had foundation all over them. I'm going to replicate it on the other side. Again, you want it to be as close as possible, but it really does not matter as much as it would on your day-to-day. So just fill it in the best you can, and I just love that it's focused on my palette and not on my face right now. But it'll zoom back in, as you can see, they're pretty similar. I'd call it similar enough. The reason that we're darkening them is just because we want to have that really strong base up against the eyeshadow we're going to do, which is essentially going to like be two giant white patches before we put the color down. And I'm going to glue my brows down with the e.l.f. stuff later, but I'm just saving that till later in the process. Now what I want to do next is take some of the like grayer shades and a big fluffy brush like this and do a very, very dramatic contour. Now I'm about to show you the light gray, and it's not going to do that much, so you can skip this part entirely if you'd like. But if you want like a really, really subtle one that you can barely even see on camera, go with a light shade of gray. But if you're going all out for Halloween, I'm going to show you the darker one in a second, and that is the like much more dramatic version. So taking that like very, very like almost purplish gray color instead, I'm going to go back in and layer it up. Now it is impossible to make this look natural because you are literally using a dark gray for your contour. So don't try to blend it in and make it look seamless. You want to look a little bit like, my sister said gross was the right word, so we're going to call it a gross ghoul. So you want to just kind of have that like dirty looking blackish grayish contour on your face, as dark as you want it, as far down as you want it. I'm essentially taking it all the way from the top of my cheekbone down. You can keep adding as much as you want, but I recommend going like a little bit at a time, because if you do too much at once, you can't really take it away. So just keep adding, back away and take a look at yourself. Once you start to look real skinny in the cheek department, you know you're good to go. So I'm also going to do the tops of my forehead, which you're not going to see too much with my bangs in the way, but just to show you guys what I would be doing if I pulled my hair back, try and just frame the forehead a little bit. You don't have to do anything crazy, you just kind of want to shrink it and give it that like dramatic-y, I think we're going to use like some terrible adjectives, we'll say a little dingy on the forehead. That's kind of like the undead vibe you want to go for. And of course, make sure you take it on both sides. You will look a little lopsided, which might look a little silly if you miss one or the other, so just make sure you're getting every part of your face. I, of course, do a little in the middle here. I have a huge head. Not so much a huge forehead, but a huge head in general, so we're going to shrink it down a little bit here. And again, it'll be a little subtle on camera because I'm not overdoing it this time, but you can still see that little bit of shadow. Now, using a smaller brush, because the bigger one will totally take over the rest of your face, you want to do either a flat kabuki style brush like this for the corners, or what I'm going to use here is this like really thin, I don't even know what kind of brush it is. It's almost like a real paintbrush. Taking that same gray, and we're going to start from the nose, like the upper nose, and then into the eyebrow all the way down. And this is going to like carve out your nose, make it look really, really hollow. You again can use the lighter shade if you don't want it super dramatic, but I really recommend just committing to this fully. It does not take any more time, and it's like a better Halloween costume the more dramatic you get. And again, this is where it's going to start being more noticeable if you mess things up, but don't worry too much. Just do whatever looks right to you and add however much or as little as you want. I'm a big fan of how this looks here, but I want to take a little bit underneath too to kind of like mimic the emptiness of the skull in that like nose area, because technically your skull does not have the nose built in like that. So I'm just going to kind of do the underneath part, and I'm pretty happy with how this looks. For the neck, I'm going to start following like my general shape. If you want to get super dramatic with it, go ahead. If you want to black out your entire neck, go ahead. But for now, I think it's just a little bit easier to kind of follow those like muscles and bone structure you already have. I'm going to start on the top and take it a little bit lower to the bottom. Don't like push too hard on yourself. If somebody gets hurt doing this, that's just a little embarrassing, but take it nice and easy. Don't press a lot, but just use a lot of product on your brush. And then once you're done, if you want to go on the jawline, you can do that as well. I have a pretty sharp jaw, but I'm just going to show you anyways. I think at this point in the video, I was just making sure it was going to look really good. So we're just going to blend a little bit more onto the bottom of the jaw. You want to keep it a little messy too, don't make it perfect. And once you have done all of this, your actual like foundational base makeup is done. Just brush away any of the remaining like bake that was on your eyes and nose, or like any of the particles that have come off during this process. You want it to be super smooth, and you should have that right about now. Can't even tell that there was any pimples underneath of it. Bring you guys in close too. You really cannot see much of anything. And now from here, we're going to try and like make our eyes pop super bright. I think that's the little reaction I was going for. I'm again going to stick to these same colors using a white, the grays, and the black. And then I'm just using, I think I used 2 separate fluffy brushes, one just for the white to keep it clean, and then I used all the other colors on another brush. So using that white shade, you want to take it all over your eye. Start like small and make it bigger as you go, because again, you can't really take away. And you just want to kind of shape out the space from the contour of your nose up to the eyebrow, and then almost like a giant cat's eye. So you want it to be like really sharp on your ends here. I use a white eyeshadow base almost every day, so if you see my pan running low, that's why. But for those of you who don't, you do not have to skimp out on the white. Add as many layers as you think you need, because it will fall away a little bit throughout the day. So unless you have like a super expensive, really good white eyeshadow you've been holding on to, make sure you add some layers as you go through this part to really brighten it up. You essentially are creating a base to make the eyes look hollow by doing a giant white background over top of where, or sorry, underneath of where the like black eyeshadow and your lashes are going to go. So as you can see, when you zoom out, there's a huge difference between both of these two sides. I'm also taking mine pretty far down. As you can see, I kind of went like a full ½ inch from my eye like downwards. That's just because, again, we want to like carve out the like socket of the eye. Now going in with that other brush, I'm going to start with the grays and get like darker with each shade. So the light one first, which again makes almost no difference on camera, but I assure you it does make a slight difference in reality. This is just to make it a little bit deeper and more three-dimensional. After we get all of our light gray on, we're going to go in with the dark gray, and this is where we're really going to see the differences and where the colors lie. You're essentially adding in that dark socket for your eye now. Shape-wise, you want to follow like a traditional smoky eye, make it nice and sharp on the ends, but like make it a nice smoky crescent in the front. It's important to make sure you can still see the white below your brow though, so don't do anything too crazy or else you're going to ruin the effect that the white has in creating the empty sockets. You also want to go underneath, and don't bother switching to a brush to make sure it's thin. We're going to blow this up anyways. So just make sure you're taking your gray all over the place, blend it pretty far out, and then eventually we're going to go in with our black to deepen that area even more. This palette has a sparkly and a matte black. I'm just going to go with the matte one here. I think it looks a little bit better. And I'm going to start on the outer corners and take it even further out and further down. We kind of want to avoid the inside at first just so we can see where the colors are going before we do anything else too dramatic. And I always do these like circular brush strokes as I put my eyeshadow on, just 'cause I think it blends it in a little bit nicely. And we are at the point where we want things to look nice and blended. We want it to be like a really dramatic, beautiful smoky eye. The only way I can describe this kind of pattern that I have is like the bottom of the butterfly wing. As you can see on top, you have that classic cat's eye, but then I'm kind of taking it a little bit like bigger and more bulbous on the bottom. So that way it creates this like dramatic, I keep saying the word dramatic, but it's all I could think of. You're not going for like a disgusting ugly ghoul, you're going for like a disgusting sexy ghoul. So you want to have this big blowout on your eyes, repeat everything you just did on one side to the other, and you're going to have this gorgeous effect when you're done. So once you're happy with both of the sides, before you put your eyeshadow away, you want to start framing where your like skeletal mouth is going to go. So going in again with the matte black, I'm going to gently connect where the end of my lip goes to where we did that contour before. It's kind of going like from the center of the mouth to the center of the contour. And you kind of want to take it up until they're almost exactly touching, but try and leave some space between them so that way the smile is like its own distinct feature. The thinner your lips are, or the smaller your mouth is, I should say, the more room you'll have to experiment here. You can just blow it up as big as you want. I tried to take mine relatively similar to the shape of my face without going too overboard, but I am going to do a little bit more when I add the gloss later. But for now, I'm just taking it, connecting the bottoms to the sides, and we're going to do it like a little messy and smudged on the bottom too. If you're going for like that real Halloween look, you can really smudge it out and make it look like your jaw's falling off. Or if you have like fake blood or other special effects stuff, you can add that onto this part later too. But I'm just going to keep it nice and shiny with the gloss when I'm done. But for now, you're just going to kind of do your outline. Don't worry about getting this everywhere because we are going to use actual black lipstick later. This is just to give you the smokiness effect first. I really got into this part. I was like trying hard to make these sides perfect and they ended up being slightly off, but since you're never really going to see it totally face on, it doesn't matter too much. From here, I'm kind of just cleaning up my area. And what we want to do now is focus on darkening the eyes with our eyeliner before we do the rest of our mouth. For products, I have my e.l.f. eyeliner for the liquid one, this Almost Gone NYX pencil, and then I have my mascara that I get from the health food store. It's like a mineral-based one. Also, it's exact opposite, my super taggy lash glue. My lashes, I don't even think I have in a case anymore, but I will show them to you before I use them. But for now, we're just going to line the inside of the waterline with our black. I ended up needing that mirror again, so I did take my eyeshadow palette back out. That's just that way I can see my own makeup going as I'm showing you, without like fully moving away from the phone camera to go to my mirror. But what we're going to do with the pencil liner isn't just line the inside of the waterline. We want to drag it down a couple millimeters, like less than a centimeter's worth, to kind of make it look really, really like sunken in. So as you can see, I'm drawing out this like deep hole that's going underneath my eye. You want to make sure that you add that only to the bottom because we are going to add like actual cat's eye eyeliner to the top. This is another one of those areas where you want to just go a little bit at a time because you really can't take away once it's on there. And if you end up with huge like gaping holes under your eyes, it might look kind of cool, but it might be a little more scary than what you're going for. So once you have it done, you want to very carefully and cautiously add your regular eyeliner. Do this however you like it. I'm just doing like my regular daily like wing, not going anything too dramatic because my lashes are going to go over top of it anyways, but I do think it just adds a nice bit of depthness and like a little feminine charm to your terrible, disgusting ghoul of a Halloween costume. Remember, we want to keep it that like healthy mix of scary and glam, so you want to still have those like regular aspects of makeup with like your sharp wing on the back and your like classy smoky eye in the front. Once you're done, repeat the same thing on the other eye. I did not show you this part because it took me a whole minute to get it done, but once they're both on, I'm finally gonna glue down my brows and also put on my mascara. This is just like that super cheap like $3 brow gel that I get from e.l.f. This is like the product that probably everyone has. And again, your mascara does not matter. If you want waterproof, use waterproof. For me, since I'm just going to take this off and take a shower after this video, I'm just using my regular mascara here. But I do recommend if you're going out, use a waterproof one. You really want it to stay on. Unless you end up, oh my god, imagine how it would look to have these giant tears coming down too. You could do that if you want, but again, healthy mix of scary and glam. I'm trying to keep my mascara really, really clean on top, and I'm making it absolutely messy on the bottom. Kind of like purposely dragging the spoolie part of this onto the like bottom of my eyes. But we want the top to be nice and clean so we can show off all the effort we put into blending out our eyeshadow. And if you also don't wear mascara or lashes, that's fine. This will look just as like creepy without having it. You might want to have like some more fun and draw some extra designs with your eyeliner, but like just to accommodate everybody, you don't need to add all this extra stuff. I love lashes and I love mascara, so I just blob it all on. But again, like you don't have to do any of these steps that you don't want to or that you don't typically wear. Once we're like getting to the point of no return, which you can see I'm kind of approaching as I'm getting a little bold, adding mascara all over the place, eventually we just gotta give it up, put the brush down, and hope that less is a little bit more. For lashes, another part of the process that would take way too long if I left the camera on, I'm just gonna take my normal ones and glue them right on. So you can see the lashes adds that little extra bit of dramaticness, and here we are with both of them. Now I'm personally very happy with how this looks. For our lips, I'm going to use both of these like little, I was going to say both NYX products, they're not. The matte lipstick is from e.l.f. and then the butter gloss is from NYX. This matte black lipstick is very well loved. I use it very regularly. So I'm just going to place it on the exact same way I'd normally put it on. Just all over the place, following my natural lip shape. Do not go back over the eyeshadow that you did. So I'm going to show you how to line that up afterwards. But this is the easy part. Put it on and like smudge it around first. Don't worry about adding the points yet. We're going to use eyeliner actually instead to drag it back out. It's in this moment in my head, I'm kind of realizing this is pretty similar to what my regular makeup looks like, just with like the extra contour and like the Joker smile lines. That's not a typical daily thing for me. But the rest of this is, and now we're going to make it crazy. So take your eyeliner and follow the shape of your lips to create that like essentially crazy Joker smile. You want to have that like extra scariness factor, make it bigger. If you want to keep it smaller like mine, keep it smaller. If you want to like draw fake teeth underneath of it, you can go ahead and do that too. But remember, in these situations, less is sometimes more, but more importantly, if you add too much and don't like it, you can't take it away. So just slowly add on and try and make them similar. I got a little into this one too, trying to make sure both of these sides were like perfectly even. They ended up being slightly off again. I don't know what it is about the mouth and being like hard to make it symmetrical, but take your time, really lock in here and like try and get it as simple as you can, and then move on. Also, if you're not comfortable putting eyeliner on, just go back in with like your lipstick on a brush. I'm putting eyeliner on my face because I don't particularly care if it goes on my cheeks. I'm going to be taking this off pretty soon, so I'm not worried about it like leaving stains or like making me break out or anything. Plus, I figure it already goes on my face, so it can't be that crazy. For our like final major step here, I'm going to take that like butter gloss that I have and start by blobbing it onto my hands, because for this we are actually going to use a brush to apply it. So I'm essentially just going to start digging into this bottle, pulling out some product, and then putting it on my hand. The reason we're doing it this way is just because it's a little bit more controlled on like a physical brush as opposed to the little spongy applicator. And as you can see me go to put it down, I decide, never mind, less is not more this time. We're going to add a little bit extra. So I'm just going to blob on the extra that I have here. Now I'm pretty satisfied, and I'll show you the two brushes that I would recommend for this part, depending on what you have. You have your classic angle brush if you really want to get it sharp, and what I'm going to use here is more of the like rounded, I guess it's technically a concealer brush, but I typically just use it to put glitter all over my face. So I'm going to go with that one just because I want to have mine like nice and smudgy. Take a big dollop of the gloss and barely showing you because my mirror's in the way, start piling it onto the lower part of your lips. This is where you want to bring it down a little bit more, and if you're into special effects stuff, if you have fake blood or anything like that, I would add it during this part of the process. Once you have it on the bottom, keep it a little bit cleaner if you can on the top, and then you can pull it out little by little onto the sides. I'm also trying to add like a little bit more of a spiky look to my like Cupid's bow area, but again, totally up to you what you do and don't want to add. I'm also going to do a little bit more on the sides here just to kind of like gloss it up a little bit more. If you want like that really slimy, ghostly look, just keep adding more gloss. And if you want to use clear gloss on maybe your eyelashes or your eyeshadow, you can go ahead and use that too. But from there on, this is our finished product. Thank you all so much for watching today's video. I really hope you enjoyed, and have a wonderful Halloween, everyone. Bye-bye!